The year is 1348, and Europe is gripped by a shadow that has spread across the land, leaving death in its wake. It moves with frightening speed, crossing borders, reaching villages, and taking entire towns before they even realize what is happening. The air is thick with fear, and the stench of death is everywhere. You can hear the cries of the afflicted echoing through the narrow streets, the coughing, the wailing, as families are torn apart by an invisible terror. It is the bubonic plague, a disease unlike any that has been seen before, ravaging everything it touches, and no one is safe. In this moment of despair, a solitary figure moves through the streets, a figure clad in a strange attire, one that seems almost as ominous as the disease itself. The beaked mask, a grotesque sight to those who still have the strength to look, is the most distinct feature of this person. You stand there, the mask staring back at you, eyes hidden beneath dark lenses, and you cannot help but feel a sense of unease. This is the plague doctor, a man or woman tasked with the impossible. His mission? To confront the unimaginable, to deal with the deadly plague in whatever way he can. The plague doctor is not a healer in the traditional sense. He does not cure, he does not save. His role is that of a grim observer and a facilitator of a gruesome process. He walks into the homes of the sick and the dying, armed with a long wooden staff, the beak mask, and an assortment of strange and rudimentary medical tools. The beak mask, often filled with aromatic herbs, spices, and vinegar-soaked cloths, is meant to protect the doctor from the foul air, believed to be the source of the disease. The mask itself, long and intimidating, is a symbol of both medical knowledge and the morbid reality of the time. It is meant to shield him from infection, a necessary protection in an era where little is known about the true nature of the disease. As you watch him adjust the mask, you realize that it is not just a medical tool. It is a symbol of society's desperation, a reminder of the helplessness that has taken hold. The streets you walk through are eerily quiet, the usual noise of bustling villages replaced by the harsh sounds of coughing and moaning. Houses once filled with life now stand empty, abandoned by families who have either fled or succumbed to the plague. The air is thick with the smell of decay, the scent of bodies left to rot in the homes and streets. You move past the dying, the ill, the desperate, each scene a horrific testament to the power of the disease. In every corner you see the signs of death, pale faces, trembling bodies, and the unmistakable blackened swellings that mark the disease's victims. There are few left to help, few left to care. The day begins as any other for the plague doctor. He dons his attire with the precision of a soldier preparing for battle. The leather gloves, the long coat, the beaked mask, all part of the ritual that has come to define his existence. There is no time to think of comfort or humanity in these moments, only the grim duty ahead. He steps out into the village, greeted by the sight of the dying. Some are lying in the street, too weak to move. Others are crammed into small homes, huddled together in a desperate attempt to survive. He approaches them with caution, his eyes scanning the scene with clinical detachment, his steps measured, as though he has seen this all before. The plague doctor's role is not to cure, but to provide what little help he can. He diagnoses with the cold precision of someone who has long accepted that there is no hope for the majority. He checks the swelling in the armpits, the groin, the neck, classic signs of the buboes that give the disease its name. He takes the pulse of the sick, notes the darkening skin, the rising fever. With each patient, he makes a quick assessment, and his heart sinks as he confirms what he already knows. The disease is too advanced for any intervention. There is nothing he can do to save them. He moves from one sickbed to the next, offering the only treatment available: the application of herbs, the draining of the buboes, and, in some cases, bloodletting. The sounds of his movements, his footsteps echoing against the cobblestones, the rustling of his coat as he reaches for his tools, are the only things that break the silence. The villagers, too weak to speak, can only watch as he works, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and resignation. There is no hope in their gazes, no belief that the plague doctor can save them. They know what he knows, that death is inevitable for most of them. As he continues his rounds, you can sense the exhaustion in his every movement. He is not immune to the emotional toll this work takes on him. Every life lost is a reminder of the helplessness that has gripped society, a reminder of the limits of medicine in a world where disease spreads faster than knowledge. The plague doctor does not mourn for each individual loss he cannot afford to, but there is a quiet sadness in the way he moves from one body to the next, the way his hands shake ever so slightly as he applies the herbs to another suffering soul. By the time the day ends, the plague doctor has seen dozens of patients, some dead, others clinging to life for just a few more hours. The village is quieter now, the remaining survivors huddled in their homes, too fearful to venture outside. As the sun sets on this plague-ridden village, the doctor returns to his small quarters, shedding his coat and mask, but never shaking off the feeling that he has failed. The plague rages on, and he is left to wonder how much longer he can continue in this work. As night falls, the plague doctor reflects on his role in this madness. He is a necessary figure in a time of crisis, but his presence only underscores the tragedy that has unfolded in the wake of the plague. The beaked mask, a symbol of protection, has also become a symbol of the divide between life and death, between those who can help and those who are doomed. In this world, the line between the living and the dead is razor thin, and the doctor is caught in the middle, trying to save what can be saved, but knowing deep down that the odds are against him. As you stand there watching the doctor prepare for another day, you are left with one question. What does it mean to be a plague doctor in a world that has lost all hope? What kind of person can face the terror of the plague day after day, knowing that they are powerless to stop it? The answer, perhaps, lies not in the mask, but in the quiet strength of those who continue to do their duty, even when all seems lost. And as you look out over the silent village, you realize that the plague doctor's work is not just a matter of medicine, it is a matter of survival, not just for the villagers, but for himself. The question now is not how long he will survive in this world, but how long he can bear to witness its slow, inevitable collapse. If you found this journey into the past fascinating, consider diving deeper into the history of pandemics and their impact on society. Explore more documentaries on how historical events shaped the world we live in today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping stories from history. The day begins before the first light of dawn. The streets are still cloaked in darkness as the plague doctor steps out of his quarters, the familiar weight of his beaked mask hanging heavily in his hands. It is an unspoken ritual. The mask, the coat, the gloves, each piece a symbol of the grim work ahead. The village is eerily silent, save for the occasional cough or weak groan coming from the homes of the afflicted. The air is thick with the stench of decay, the pungent odor of death that has become all too familiar. The doctor's every breath is shallow, as though even the air itself is tainted. He adjusts the herbs, stuffed into the mask. The pungent smell of rosemary and lavender, meant to ward off the miasma of disease that is believed to be the source of the plague. As he walks through the narrow cobblestone streets, his footsteps echoing through the silence, he is aware of the lives that have already been claimed by the disease. He passes empty houses, abandoned by families who have either fled or perished. The once lively marketplace is now deserted, the stalls abandoned, the sounds of bargaining and laughter replaced by the sickening quiet of a community in the grips of despair. Every corner he turns, every building he passes, serves as a reminder of the disease's unrelenting spread. It has claimed more than the lives of the villagers. It has claimed the spirit of the town itself. His first patient of the day is a woman in her mid-30s, lying in a small, dimly lit room. Her face is pale, her body racked with fever. The telltale blackened buboes under her arms a sure sign that the plague has taken hold. The doctor approaches, her with a sense of detachment, a mental armor that has been forged after countless encounters with the disease. He must be clinical. He must be efficient. Emotions have no place in this work. He examines her quickly, noting the symptoms: the fever, the sweating, the swollen lymph nodes. He checks for the dark spots on her skin, a sign that the infection has spread beyond the lymphatic system. His heart sinks, but he shows no sign of it. He knows the outcome before he even finishes his examination. There is nothing he can do for her. The woman looks at him with desperate eyes, her hand reaching out weakly. She tries to speak, but only a rasping cough escapes her lips. The doctor can do little but offer her comfort, though the comfort is an empty one. He has no medicine to give, no cure to offer. Instead, he applies some vinegar-soaked cloths to her body, a treatment that is more ritual than remedy, and instructs her to rest. There is nothing more he can do, and she knows it as well as he does. As the hours drag on, the doctor moves from one patient to the next. Each house he enters is the same. A small, cramped room filled with the sound of coughing, the sight of pale, dying faces, and the overwhelming sense of helplessness that hangs in the air. Some of the patients are too far gone to be saved, their bodies already stiffening with the early signs of rigor mortis. Others are still clinging to life, their breath shallow, their bodies weak from the fever. The doctor examines them all with the same clinical precision, checking their pulses, looking for signs of the disease's progression. He has seen it all before, and yet, each time, it feels like the first. There is no rhyme or reason to the disease, no predictability. Some people die within hours, others linger for days. It is a cruel, unpredictable enemy, and the doctor is left to face it with nothing but his tools and his knowledge, neither of which are enough to stop the plague. By midday, the doctor's hands are stained with sweat and blood. He has seen more patients than he can count, each one more desperate than the last. There is no time to stop, no time to rest. He is a man on a mission, and that mission is to keep moving, to keep treating, even when he knows that his efforts are futile. The doctor's mind races as he walks from one home to the next, his thoughts a blur of symptoms, treatments, and failed attempts at saving lives. He wonders briefly how long he can continue in this work, how long he can bear to watch people suffer and die with no hope of a cure. As the day wears on, the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the village. The doctor feels the weight of exhaustion creeping into his bones. His body aches from the constant movement, his mind weary from the emotional toll of the day. The silence of the village is oppressive, and yet it is a relief. The people have gone to their homes, too afraid to venture out into the streets. The doctor knows that there will be no end to the suffering, no end to the plague. He is trapped in this endless cycle, caught between life and death, between hope and despair. The last patient of the day is a young boy, no more than 10 years old. His parents are dead, his siblings are gone, and he lies alone in a small room, shivering with fever. The doctor kneels beside him, his heart heavy with the knowledge that this child too will not survive. He examines the boy with the same detached efficiency, his mind already turning to the next task, the next patient. But as he looks down at the boy's face, something shifts within him. The child's eyes are wide with fear, his body trembling, and for a brief moment, the doctor is reminded of the innocence that has been lost in this plague. This child, who should be playing in the fields, who should be laughing and running with his friends, is now lying in a bed of death, his life slipping away. The doctor's heart aches for him, but he does not show it. There is no time for sentiment, no time for weakness. He checks the boy's pulse one last time, nods to himself, and moves on. By the time the sun sets completely, the village is quiet again. The doctor returns to his quarters, exhausted and drained. He removes his mask and gloves, his fingers trembling as he does so. The weight of the day presses down on him, and he cannot shake the feeling of helplessness that lingers in his chest. He has seen death in many forms, but never like this. The plague is an enemy unlike any other, and he is powerless against it. He cannot save everyone, and deep down he knows it, but he keeps going, because it is his duty. Because in a world where everything seems lost, it is the only thing he can do. As he sits down in the quiet of his room, the doctor reflects on the day. He is a man of science, a man of logic, but even he cannot explain the horrors that he has witnessed. The plague has taken so much, and yet it remains unstoppable. He is left with nothing but the knowledge that his work is not over, that the cycle will begin again with the rise of the sun tomorrow. And so, as he closes his eyes, he steels himself for another day of service in the face of inevitable death. If you're intrigued by the untold stories of the past, and the medical history that shaped the world. Dive deeper into the history of pandemics and how they transformed societies. Subscribe for more documentaries and explore the resilience of those who lived through the darkest times in history. The days blend together in a blur of grief and exhaustion. The sun rises and sets, and yet, in the heart of the plague-ridden village, nothing truly changes. The streets are still silent, save for the soft moaning of the sick and the occasional shuffle of footsteps. It is as though the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for an end that seems never to come. You have been here long enough to lose track of time, but you do not need a clock to know that the situation is growing worse. You feel it in the air, in the way the villagers move with an air of hopelessness, in the way their eyes dart nervously as you pass by, as if they can sense the death that looms just beyond their doorways. As the plague doctor, you are both a part of this world and yet utterly separate from it. You walk among the dying, but you are not one of them. You are a figure of both fear and reverence. To the people, you are both a healer and a harbinger of doom, the symbol of the last. Hope and the inevitable end. They look to you for answers, but all you have to offer is the same empty promise. I will do what I can. But you know, as well as they do, that what you do will not be enough. The beaked mask you wear has become more than just a tool of protection. It is a barrier between you and the suffering you witness every day. The mask is a symbol of detachment, a shield against the emotional toll of your work. You wear it to protect yourself, not just from the disease, but from the overwhelming sense of despair that threatens to swallow you whole. You are not supposed to feel. You are not supposed to care. You are here to diagnose, to treat, and to move on to the next patient. The death of each person should be no more significant than the last, but it is hard to ignore the faces that blur in your memory, the faces that haunt you as you lay down to sleep, the faces of those who did not make it, no matter how hard you tried. And yet, the weight of it all begins to press on you. The longer you are in this town, the harder it becomes to separate yourself from the human suffering that surrounds you. You can see the fear in the villagers' eyes, their whispers of superstitions and rumors that the plague is a divine punishment, a wrath sent by God to punish the wicked. The belief that the disease is a divine retribution is pervasive, and it clings to the air like the plague itself. The villagers pray for salvation, but even their most fervent prayers seem to go unanswered. It is as if the world is being torn apart by something far greater than any human could comprehend, and there is no escape from it. You find yourself questioning the nature of the plague, wondering if the villagers are right. Is this divine punishment, or is it simply nature running its course? You think about the countless lives you have seen snuffed out without warning, the bodies that have been left to rot in the streets, the families torn apart by grief. You wonder, in the quiet moments when you are alone with your thoughts, whether you are truly helping or simply prolonging the inevitable. The mask that protects you from the disease also protects you from facing the reality of what you are doing. You tell yourself that it is not your place to question, but the doubt lingers in the back of your mind, gnawing at you like a hungry animal. Then one day, you encounter a case that shakes you to your core. A child, no more than 6 years old, is brought to you. The child is feverish, pale, and covered in the telltale signs of the plague. The parents, desperate and frail, beg you to help their child. The father clutches your arm, his eyes wide with fear, as he pleads for you to save the boy. You can see the desperation in their faces, the last vestige of hope in their eyes, but you know deep down that there is nothing you can do. The child is too far gone, and yet you cannot bring yourself to turn away. For the first time in weeks, you are forced to confront the helplessness of your role. This child, so innocent, so young, has no place in this madness. You find yourself asking, why them? Why this child, when so many others have died without a fight? You can do nothing but offer a few words of comfort, a gesture of kindness in a world that has forgotten how to be kind. You perform the same rituals as you have countless times before, the application of herbs, the draining of the buboes, the murmured prayers that have no meaning anymore. But as you look down at the child's face, you cannot help but feel a sense of crushing sorrow. The child's eyes are wide with fear, but there is no pain in them, just an empty, unfathomable terror. It is a look you have seen countless times before, but never in one so young. The father holds the boy's hand, his face pale and tear-streaked, and you know that, despite everything you do, despite all your efforts, this child will not survive. As the day wears on, you begin to feel the weight of this moment. It is not just the child's death that has shaken you, but the realization that you are no longer able to carry the emotional burden of your work. The constant death, the constant loss. It is wearing you down, eroding your resolve. You find yourself questioning everything you thought you knew about your role in this plague. You have spent so many days in the presence of death that you no longer know what it means to live. The beaked mask, once a symbol of protection, now feels like a prison. A cage that keeps you from feeling, from connecting with the very people you are trying to help. The night falls, and the village is quiet once again. But the silence is different now. It is not the silence of peace or rest. It is the silence of something broken, something lost. You stand in the darkness, looking out over the village that has become a tomb, and you wonder, for the first time in a long while, if you will ever be able to bear the weight of this work again. The struggle of the plague doctor is just one of many stories of resilience and despair throughout history. If you want to learn more about the impact of pandemics on society and the personal toll of those who faced them, continue to explore our documentaries. Like, share, and subscribe for more insight into the darkest moments of human history and the lives that defined them. As the last rays of sunlight fade from the sky, a profound stillness takes hold of the village. The day has been long, and the weight of its events presses heavily on the plague doctor. He walks through the empty streets, his steps slow and deliberate. The usual sounds of the village, the chatter of children, the hustle of the market, are absent now, replaced by the silence that has become so familiar over the past months. The town, once alive with the energy of daily life, now stands as a hollow shell, a reflection of the devastation the plague has brought. With each step, the doctor's mind drifts back to the faces of the countless individuals he has seen over the course of the day, faces that once held hope, now drained of life. The faces of children, of parents, of the elderly, all marked by the same fate. He knows that there will be no end to the suffering in this village, no respite for those who remain. The plague has changed everything. It has taken the lives of the strong and the weak alike, and it has left behind a community in ruin. The doctor cannot help but reflect on his role in all of this. He came to this village with the belief that he could help, that his knowledge and his training could make a difference. But as the days pass, and as the bodies pile up, it becomes clear to him that no matter what he does, the outcome is the same. The plague is unstoppable. He can offer no cure, no real solution, only temporary relief for those who are already beyond saving. He has seen the fear in the eyes of the villagers, the hopelessness that has settled into their hearts. But what of his own heart? What of his own soul? He begins to question the purpose of his work, the meaning of his existence as a plague doctor. What is the point of saving a few when so many are lost? What is the point of providing comfort when all he has to offer is a fleeting moment of relief before the inevitable end? The beaked mask, once a symbol of protection, now feels like a prison, a reminder of everything he cannot change. He is trapped in this cycle, a cycle that has no end. The doctor's thoughts turn to the future, to the long-term effects the plague will have on Europe. He knows that this is only the beginning. The plague is not just a medical crisis, it is a societal one. Entire communities have been torn apart, and the impact of this disease will be felt for generations to come. What will Europe look like in the aftermath of this devastation? How will the people rebuild? And how will medicine evolve in the face of such an overwhelming crisis? He wonders if the world will ever be the same again, if life will ever return to normal. But even as he ponders these questions, he knows that the answers are beyond him. The future is uncertain, and there is nothing he can do to change that. As he continues to walk through the empty streets, the doctor is struck by the sheer emptiness of the world around him. The homes, once filled with life, now stand silent. The marketplace, where people once bargained and laughed, is deserted. The silence is suffocating. It is as if the very soul of the village has been drained away, leaving only the remnants of a world that once was. The doctor stops for a moment, standing at the edge of the village, gazing out at the horizon. The world seems vast and unforgiving, and for the first time, he feels a deep sense of isolation. He is alone in this fight, and the weight of that loneliness is crushing. But then, as if on cue, a thought enters his mind. What if this is not the end? What if, in some small way, the work he has done will have a lasting impact? What if, through his efforts, he has contributed to the future of medicine, to the development of practices that will one day help others? The thought is fleeting, but it provides a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is still the potential for change, for progress. The doctor shakes his head, pushing the thought aside. He knows that the plague has taken far more than it has given, and yet he cannot deny the faint flicker of optimism that lingers within him. As night falls and the village falls into a deep silence, the doctor retreats to his quarters. He removes the beaked mask, the gloves, the coat. Each piece feels heavier than the last. He is exhausted, physically and emotionally drained. His mind is a whirl of thoughts, of faces, of lives lost. He closes his eyes, but the images do not fade. They stay with him, lingering in the darkness, reminding him of the work he has done, the lives he has touched, and the countless others he was unable to save. In the stillness of his room, the doctor reflects on the legacy of the plague doctors. He knows that history will remember them not as saviors, but as symbols of a time when humanity was forced to confront its own vulnerability. They were the first line of defense against the plague, but they were also powerless in the face of its devastation. And yet, despite their limitations, they played an important role in the evolution of public health. The plague doctors may not have been able to stop the plague, but they laid the groundwork for the medical advancements that would come in the centuries that followed. Their contributions, however small they may have seemed at the time, were a necessary step in the long journey toward understanding disease and finding ways to combat it. As the doctor lies down to sleep, he knows that the legacy of the plague doctors is complex, one of suffering, of failure, but also of resilience. They were the witnesses to a tragedy unlike any the world had ever seen, and their work, though imperfect, was a testament to the human will to survive, to endure, and to continue the fight, even in the face of insurmountable odds. The plague doctor may not have been able to save them all, but in the end, perhaps that is not what matters most. It is the effort, the dedication, and the humanity that he brought to his work that will endure long after the plague has passed. If you found yourself drawn to the stories of those who lived through history's greatest challenges, consider exploring more documentaries about the resilience of humanity in the face of disaster. Like, share, and subscribe to continue discovering the untold stories of the past and their lasting impact on our world.